Hello, everyone. Welcome out to episode 356. I'm Nick Arganbright. I wasn't sure if this was going to go up last week or if this was going up this week, and either way, it kind of happened last minute. It wasn't initially planned on the docket, so to speak. I'm a big Rocky and Bullwinkle fan, obviously, because I do the Magically Unauthorized Misadventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, but I really love the fandom of Rocky and Bullwinkle. I feel is awesome because it really hits that whole classic. The fandom is kind of all over the map, and it hits that classic love of cartoons, which I really love. And I have a deep appreciation for. Yeah, so I'm on the Facebook group. I think it's called, and they call themselves the official fan club. It's Moose and Squirrel, the official fan club of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends. You get to interact with a lot of cool people, and one of them is the artist of the new Rocky and Bullwinkle comic book by American Mythology. And I've seen him post a few times here and there, and I thought nothing of it. Not that I thought nothing of it. I'm talking about, like, in terms of podcasts, I wasn't really thinking like that. I'm just going, oh, that's really cool. We have someone else that's involved in the creation of something in the licensing side, involved with the fan club. How rad is that? Another reason why I really like this fan club. So what happened was I saw another post that he did where he commented on and with additional stuff for the artwork, and oh my god, it was awesome, and it made me super more excited than I kind of already was. I was going to wait till the trade paperback. I know that's horrible to say, but that was my intention, and I read it and I was like, oh my god. So I only go to Packrat once a week, which, by the way, check out packratcomics.com, and you can also check out, we're also part of the It's All Been Done Presents Network, IBDpresents.com. I don't actually have any of my notes here with me, which I know is horrible, but so I'm not doing my normal spiel for these things, but please check them out. We're a part of a great network. It's All Been Done Radio Hour is the flagship. The next show, I believe, is November 11th, which we will be opening for. Anyway, Jake was pretty awesome, and I just randomly said, hey, dude, you want to do my podcast? And he said, yeah, sure. These are these two dates I can do it. And I made time. I had no sleep in terms of going into work, but it was totally worth it. Jake Greenawalt is the artist, and he also does American Mythology's Pink Panther, and he also is doing the new, I think it's 4-issue miniseries for American Mythology Rocky and Bullwinkle. And it is absolutely phenomenal from what I've read of it. And it's so good. The artwork is amazing, and you'll hear us talk about that too. And we kind of go all over the place. You can find out more information about Jake at whateverjakemakes.blogspot.com. You can also check him out on Twitter and Instagram, and all this will be in our show notes, okay? So, if you're like me and you're like, I like to clicky on the linky, not hear you go talky about it, then you know what? This is your day. Whateverjakemakes.blogspot.com, his Twitter handle, Instagram, his links to his short film, it'll all be in the show notes, okay? And guys, I really think you're going to enjoy our conversation. Now, I will say, and this is no fault of him, and I didn't realize until after we were done, something went wrong with the recording, and it broke it off into 2 tracks, and I don't know why. My editors are going to try to fix in the mix, but if the conversation does kind of a weird take or a jump, I apologize. Jacob, I apologize. I actually loved our conversation. I wasn't going to cut barely anything out of it, and so it was going to be for time, and sadly, I actually lost something naturally anyway, which was not part of the plan. I really loved our conversation. I think you guys will too. We're kind of all over the place, and the one thing that it might be in there still, I'm getting nods that it might still be in there, is we do this really great riff on little nitpicks over actors, like tells that they do. And we go down a weird rabbit hole with that, but it's so much fun, and I would love to have him back on. He said he had a blast too, so I'm hoping, Jake, buddy, if you're listening, I know you probably are, we're going to make it happen again. It was so much fun talking to him, and
here's episode 356 of The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky. It's Jake Greenawalt. I think I said it right that time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome out to this episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky. And I'm really excited because I have with me Jacob Green. Is it Greenawalt?
It's Greenawalt.
Greenawalt. Ah, that A throws you off.
No, Greenawalt.
It was okay. Greenawalt.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so
but
then
nobody cares. Nobody cares about that.
I have Arganbright for a name. I understand. Do you walk up to restaurants and go, just Nick A, or Jacob G?
Like Jacob G is fine because nobody can spell it or pronounce it, and they don't care. So,
yeah, exactly. It's just like, okay, let me help you. Help me help you. Help me help you. So, for those of you out there who do not know who Jacob Greenawalt is, he is the artist of the American Mythology Rocky and Bullwinkle series, which originally came out in September. I think issue 2 is coming out soon.
Yep, it's still in the works, but should be soon.
Should be soon? Awesome. If you would like to check out more of Jacob's stuff, you can go to whateverjakemakes.blogspot.com, or is there another website you'd prefer to throw out there instead?
No, that's perfect.
Awesome. So I'll just throw out here how I even found Jacob was we are on a Facebook fan page. They call it the official fan page of Rocky and Bullwinkle, called It's Moose and Squirrel.
Yeah.
And there's some other people on there too, like Keith Scott. He was the second voice of Bullwinkle there for a bit. Matter of fact, he's all over the DVDs now too. When the Wards repackaged everything for the DVD release.
Oh yeah.
So so it's really cool. You get to really meet other people out there. There are other like friends of Bill Scott that are on there, which is just really cool, and it's a really wonderful little community. And
it really is. I have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's awesome. And the thing is too, this is the part that kind of bums me out, is that I feel like Jay Ward's place in history, like everyone loves Rocky and Bullwinkle, but the history around them is like not like everyone. It's always Disney and Warner Brothers, and then you have Hanna-Barbera is another big one too, and then after that it's right. Jay Ward, and he left such a huge stamp on cartoons. And I mean, The Simpsons.
I would even piggyback on that and say that Jay Ward kind of led the TV animation, if it was a revolution. He kind of paved the way for Hanna-Barbera, because Hanna-Barbera were trying to do stuff like Jay Ward. He was doing funny animated comedy and at half the cost.
Oh, yeah.
And it worked. People knew the characters. It was all about the voice acting, because the voice acting was superb. But he kind of set up a model for TV animation, and I think Hanna-Barbera was quick to follow when they went from theatrical shorts straight to TV. And then we all know the Hanna-Barbera characters, Scooby-Doo and the like.
Yeah.
And I would say one more thing, too.
Yeah.
That Rocky and Bullwinkle was definitely a influence for Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, wow.
Because if you look at how Ren and Stimpy sort of parodies Rocky Bullwinkle. But once you start watching Rocky Bullwinkle, and I grew up with Ren and Stimpy and Hanna-Barbera, you really see how, like, they parallel. Like, it's like, even like the segment Ask Dr. Stupid. There was the similar segment for Bullwinkle.
Yeah, that's right. Ask Mr. Know-It-All. I mean, I know that Matt Groening, like the characters he named Bartholomew J. Simpson and Homer J. Simpson, that J is for Jay Ward.
Yep, he gave them the J because they used to just do Bullwinkle J. Moose.
Yeah, and Rocket J. Squirrel.
The J was just the letter J. It didn't mean anything. It just was the letter J.
Well, did you ever watch MASH growing up in reruns?
What was the show?
Did you ever watch the show MASH? I know it's not animation, but
Oh yeah. I've seen a little bit of MASH. I'm familiar.
So, do you remember the character BJ? It was Hawkeye's best friend in the second half of the show. Yeah. There was a whole episode where I think it was towards the end of the series where they knew that the war would probably be ending soon, and BJ kept haunting Hawkeye. He's like, everything about me but what BJ stands for. And they make a few lewd jokes, but Hawkeye, it really bothers Hawkeye. And at the end of the episode, he's like, look, you win. I don't know you as well as I thought I do. And it's like, my name is B, named after my grandmother B, B-E-A, and then my other grandfather on my mom's side, J, J-A-Y. So it's literally... Yeah, it's literally B.J. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and then, of course, all dirty jokes aside, they're just like, it's just these simple three-letter names, B and J.
Exactly, yeah. So, Yeah, and that joke about Jay Ward is prevalent in all of the Ward stuff, and even the newer stuff too. Like when they crash into, I think, the Watsamata U in the live action movie, they go to Boris and Tasha leave the Jay Ward, the Jay medic ward.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah, because because Boris is not animated anymore, and so when he falls to the ground, he has to go to the Jay Ward to get fixed up so he can go after Rocky and Bullwinkle again. Yeah, just really funny stuff like that. And we'll get more into Rocky and Bullwinkle here in a second. But
sure.
So, talking about you, how did you get started into art?
Well, art in general for me. I've been drawing since I was 5.
Nice.
Always had a love for animation. Always had a love for comic strips, comic books. Mm-hmm. When I was little, a comic strip for me was, of course, Calvin and Hobbes by Bill Watterson.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for me. Of course, TV was littered with animation. The early 90s and late 80s were, just so much good animation from all sorts of studios and channels. Comic books, I was into Marvel a little bit, but really back in the day I was into Image Comics.
Yeah.
And that shaped my whole world for art. I used to do, I was drawing all the time. So in high school, I actually had a published comic strip in the local paper.
Oh, wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. They did that was cool for me. That blew my world. I was 15 and I was drawing comics already. But yeah, so art's been a part of my life since forever. And I've been doing art the entire time.
That's so rad. So, what was your first comic strip about? Do you remember?
It was just 2 random cartoon characters. It was a rabbit and it was a beaver. And it didn't even have a clever name. It was called Rabbit and Beaver. But what was fun about it was that it was pretty much like a way of me of drawing my influences from, like I said, like Calvin Hobbes and TV animation, but also parodied my family. So the 2 main characters would become me and my brother. And so it'd be a mix of comedy from stuff that I watched, and then a mix of comedy from things that happened at home or with friends. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. So I've seen that you've done some animation too. Like I'm sorry, I don't have it from. It's Aloha Burgers or Aloha Grocery that you were.
Yeah, that was a project I had started, and I've done some other shorts too. I did a short called Sushi, and I did a short, did one called One Drink, and those have done some festival time.
Oh, that's
kind
awesome.
of fun to say. Yeah, especially Sushi and One Drink actually both went international. I had some screen times in other countries, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, did you get to go with them or go over to see them and experience that whole thing, or was it a money thing?
I did, yeah. I went to one of the most fun ones was going to Montreal, Canada for a festival there. One Drink got in there, and I got to spend 4 days and hang out and meet people. That was a lot of fun. Sushi went to an animation day in Cannes, but I actually couldn't make that trip because it just suddenly came up, and I forget what was going on. I couldn't schedule the flight. But yeah, I've done some shorts, but they're not super well known, but they've done some time.
Dude, that's awesome though, man. You got to experience that, and because festivals are a lot of fun. They're hectic too. From what I've heard. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, it's a good mix of both, and it's also kind of like when you do a festival, it's kind of on your dime. Mm-hmm. So it's like if you have the time and the money, yeah, go travel. Sometimes they give you some accommodations, but not like if you're not an award-winning super animator artist,
right? Like if you're not Brad Bird or somebody, yeah, they're not gonna
exactly.
Yeah, we all wish we could be Brad Bird.
Give me 10 more years and we'll see.
That's true. That's true. I remember what I saw on the blog. It looked really cool. I didn't get a chance to check out. No, you're welcome. I saw I think some of the animation for One Drink, and then I saw the international poster, and I didn't get to see the whole short. And you kind of have you have at least in those you have a very UPA like design.
Yes.
Which I really like, and also that's where Bill Scott got his start, kind of in. Well, I think he was at Warner Brothers, but then he went to UPA, and really, he can't draw as well. But there's the Art of Jay Ward book, and there's a lot of drawings he would make with airing his frustrations with the networks that him and Jay had to deal with. And I thought he actually was a good cartoonist or illustrator, and more of a Sunday Funnies cartoonist kind of guy, or storyboard guy.
Yeah.
So I think he sold himself a little short there, but I could definitely see that influence. And of course, ultimately, I think UPA and Warner Brothers really helped him shape the gags of stuff too, supposedly. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. Now, I love that style of animation
mentioned, like that UPA.
Oh yeah,
like that to me is definitely an influence. I love the color choices. I love the thick lines versus the thin lines. It's always so much fun because to me it's like they're just like characterized cartoons, and I just love playing with that look. And I've sort of like I can draw. My normal style is kind of like a very Disney-esque style, but I like to push myself into more of the UPA, which is weird. It sounds like, because even you said it, I think, you know, people consider that a more simple style of drawing, but it's funny. It's actually sometimes more difficult. Yeah. You have to kind of have to play with perspective or like alter. You have to kind of draw something the way you're not supposed to, in according to sort of the drawing rules if they exist. And it's like,
no, I was just going to say the color scheme too is abstract in some cases.
Right. It's sort of like drawing something normal, but with a slight abstract nature to it. But the results are fantastic if you get the colors right, and you know, and you have like the real. It's also very fast line work, which is something I love to do when I draw. Sort of use that fast curved line to sort of make my stuff look cool. But to be honest with you, that one drink short, and it's not, you know, check it out later. It's not very long.
Okay.
But that's what led to me to where I am now with the comics, because I think a couple people saw that.
Oh, wow.
And so they saw the style, and the guys at American Mythology saw that short and thought, well, maybe this guy can do Pink Panther. So then I they wrote me an email, or I think maybe they called me. I'm not sure. I also have a mutual friend with them.
Oh, wow.
And they were all talking to me about it. And they were like, so, hey, you know, we bought a license for Pink Panther. Are you interested in helping us reboot him? I was like, heck yeah. So they said, well, here, do a character turnaround. You know, so I took Pink Panther. I kind of did my own drawing, like front view, side view, three-quarter view, did a whole mock-up. But I had no rules. Like, they didn't give me any of the colors or anything, so I just kind of made everything up and sent it to them. And they said, oh, this looks great. You know what I mean? So let's get started. Here's a script. You know, you do some covers first, you know, blah, 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 blah.
That's awesome.
I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And then I started drawing, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute. And they started sending me the rules. And I got there's a PDF that they send you that has all of the, you know, the guidelines for Pink Panther. And I was like, oh, this is like getting a bag of gold. You know, here's all the specs for, you know, this classic, you know, 60s character, the Pink Panther. It was so cool. So yeah, and then I worked for them I've been doing that for about a year and a half, or maybe 2 years now. I don't know. I did a bunch of covers, and I did 2 Pink Panther stories.
Now, did you write them too, or help write them? I mean, because artists are technically writing with the writer in some cases.
Yeah.
But did you write any of the stories fully yourself?
I did. Well, no, not for. So with American Mythology, I've actually just been like a hired artist, like a hired gun.
Okay.
I mean, I do have. So I have a lot of my own characters and own stories. I can write stories, but for them, you know, they provide the scripts.
Gotcha.
Everything from them has been a different writer. Keith, I can't remember the first one. Keith, I can't remember his name. The guy who's doing the Rocky Bullwinkle scripts, Todd Livingston, is fantastic. So when they sent me his script, I thought, oh my God, this is the whole tone of the show. This is perfect. Like, I can't wait to be involved in this, because once I saw the writing was there, you know, like I said, Rocky Bullwinkle is all about voice acting and the writing and the stylistic tone. I thought, well, we got the writer. Let me just bring the style, and maybe we can get this thing working.
Yeah, and I think I commented this on the fan group, because there's one guy, he's really cool. He posts all the time. John Mayer, but he posted something. I actually think he posted thumbnails of the first issue. And,
yes.
And now, some backstory on this one, why I have not sadly read the full book yet, is because my weird work schedule, which I kind of told you about, I only go to the comic shop now once a month. And by the time I got to Comixology, it's ordered, and I even confirmed with the comic shop, and it's on my pull list, but I probably won't get issue 1 until issue 2 comes out, kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, let me know how you like it when you.
Oh, definitely. I mean, from what I read and what John put, because he posted like the 4 preview pages or whatever, I was dying.
Well, yeah, those are on. I think he stole those from my website. So if you go to whateverjakemakes.blogspot.com, I think I have my cover and the first 3 pages available. So if anyone wants to check it out,
and
preview the first
definitely please check it out, because it's hysterical. It's really funny. And the one thing I commented on you though about, which I feel like to me the hardest characters to draw are Boris, Tasha, and Rocky. And you...
I would agree with you.
In my opinion, you've captured all 3 of them beautifully. And maybe this is a little peeve of mine, and I know it's probably what they're trying to go for, and the fact that they let you do it is amazing, but I do not like Black Nose Rocky. I don't know why.
Oh, you meant...
No, I don't know why that is. And I don't really love the Gold Antlers Bullwinkle, but I understand that Jay Ward, I think, always wanted the Gold Antlers, so I kind of get that. They're trying to honor their dad on that. But I just...
Yeah, so the colors for sure are... That boggles my mind a little bit, too, because every time I looked up the old artwork and you know, watched the show, he's totally brown, including the antlers, same color.
Oh,
and that's just sort of what you get used to. But so you know what I was talking about, there's like style guides for Pink Panther. Well, they have updated style guides for Rocky and Bullwinkle, and they're provided by DreamWorks. So they have specific Pantones. So like any colored character, any colors for the characters I have provided Pantone to use. So really, I just concentrate on my line width and my inking and make sure it looks like the style of the show. But the characters have to be definitely colored a certain way.
Now, did they say anything about Rocky's nose? I know that sounds, again, to focus on that, but did they say anything about the nose like that, or?
No, nobody has yet, but maybe they will now.
Oh, no, I hope not. Please, if you're listening, do not do anything. Because you do a few times give like a little more of the triangle black nose, but I really love the fact that I feel, which it's very old school, and I really like that design because I think the original Alex Anderson design, it's okay, but I think it's the middle of Box Top Robbery is when Rocky becomes the Rocky that I love. And I think that he's well known for that look. And I know at some point, I think when they even redid the DVDs on the DVD menu, like they did the opening where Bullwinkle's tripping over and they reanimated it, and they literally looks like and they with the gold antlers. So
interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so they really are trying to go for the rebranding of how he looks. So, and I get that. But then Rocky, it's like every time I see him, it's like, oh, the big black nose. And then I read the book, I was like, oh, yay!
Well, actually, so there was a lot of revisions for the first issue, and I believe I did change the nose from sort of a black triangle with a white dot. Oh. And then I think I saw some designs mixed in with the packet where he had it like it's just like it's sort of a like a smooshed black triangle that's a little thinner, because before it was thicker.
Yeah.
But I did change it because I had to alter Rocky's face in some of the revisions because I think I gave him too much forehead, if I believe that was the critique. But it also forced me to. So, to be honest with you, all the characters I had in the first issue as I was going through and doing all of the artwork, Rocky was probably, not intentionally, given the less attention in terms of drawing. And because I love Boris and Tasha so much, so I had such a love for them. I already had this passion in drawing them. And then Bullwinkle's so iconic, I think I was concentrating a lot on him. And then sort of Rocky was just sort of becoming a lot of my looser, more fun poses, but also that kind of breaks him from his character mold. So I had to kind of go back and I kind of tightened him up. And then for this next issue, he's much more, he's been, in terms of design, tightened up a lot more. In fact, he's some of my favorite drawings in the next issue.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
well, and I feel like Rocky is kind of disproportionate. Like Bullwinkle, I mean, they're all shapes, right? But I feel like Rocky, in terms of how his head's laid out compared to his body, isn't always super proportionate or as easy to make it connect and look like it works easily in some cases. Or maybe that's just me, but like Bullwinkle, I feel like the nose could be a little bit more difficult, but the rest of his body is very symmetrically shaped.
Yeah, that's true. You know what it is, honestly? I mean, if you did an internet search for Rocky Bullwinkle right now, every image of Rocky Bullwinkle that will come up looks completely different from the next.
That's true too.
And it's absolutely true. There really has never been rhyme or reason to their designs. Now, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's part of the charm. I think that's what we all kind of love about Rocky Bullwinkle, whether we know it or not.
Oh, yeah.
Every time you see them, they look completely different. I mean, sometimes Bullwinkle has a mouth that connects to his snout. Other times it's just another layer underneath with, looks like it's just flapping in the wind. There's just always something. Sometimes Rocky's really tall, looks like he has long legs. Other times he just looks like a bowling ball with a head. It's like, they're always different. And also Natasha and Boris too. They're almost completely different in print or in the show, or sometimes they have their costumes on. They look just insanely designed differently because they're wearing like a wig or so there's never been a rhyme or reason. And I think that's something to love about Rocky Bullwinkle. It also makes me want to think, oh, maybe every panel I draw them completely different, but I know I can't do that. but that would be fun to be like, oh, in this page they look like this, and the next page, oh, they look completely crazy. But no, I kind of rein it in and just kind of stick to one look.
That's awesome. I mean, and I will say too, and maybe what is your take on this? Because I always feel like Rocky and Bullwinkle themselves are funny, but I feel like everyone, like Boris and Natasha, is where most of the comedy is kind of mined from. Rocky and Bullwinkle have groaners. Like you could give the same joke to Rocky and Bullwinkle, and it'll be but if you give the same groaner to Boris and Natasha, it's actually laugh out loud funny, and it's really bizarre.
Well, I think that Boris and Tasha kind of bring the adult humor to the show, to the character. Mm-hmm. Bullwinkle has Bullwinkle's a dumb character, but he's also charming. So those are his kind of jokes. They're dumb and they're charming. or they're sentimental sometimes. And then, of course, like you said, Boris and Tasha, they get the good one-liners because they're the bad guys.
Yeah, of course. And of course, you know they're going to get their comeuppance completely by the end.
Of course. And you also know they're going to show up. Even if they're not there, you know they're going to show up. That's the best part.
Right.
Like you always can expect Boris and Tasha to show up and be part of the story somehow.
Yeah, which is always really fun. And then there's not a lot of fearless leader in the first issue that I can see from the preview, but I mean he even looks phenomenal.
He's not in the second issue, but he is in the first issue.
Yeah,
so when you do check it out, it's actually fun because it's a campaign story, and you know how political the landscape is right now.
Oh,
but we won't go into that.
No, yeah,
we won't go into that.
I understand.
But it's a very political landscape right now, and in the story, Bullwinkle gets tricked into running against fearless leader to lead Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
so that's the setup for the story. So they have a campaign, and it's pretty funny.
Now, does that last all 4 issues, or is that just the one issue, the first issue?
That's the story arc in the first issue.
First issue. Now, does any of that carry over into issue 2, 3, and 4 a little bit?
No. So the story arc is all in one issue. The next issue 2 is sort of a Halloween-esque, or maybe I should say more of a Rocky Horror Picture Show-esque type of story, which is great.
Yeah. Rocky Horror. I already know where that's going. All right.
It's good.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I'm trying to think. So you've done Pink Panther, you've done Rocky and Bullwinkle. What would be you already are doing these awesome projects. What would be a dream project, like another property, a dream property that you would also like to do on top of continuing to do Rocky and Bullwinkle for American Mythology along with Pink Panther?
Oh, that's a good question. I think besides my own material, I would think, let me think, another property. I really like the new Ducktales.
Oh my God, yes.
And I can draw in that style. And I also like those updated Mickey Mouse cartoons, with the new fun style. Yeah. I kind of like those. So I would say Ducktales. I know they do comics. That'd be a fun property to work on. Only because I grew up with those characters in the afternoons, after school. Of course, the new Mickey Mouse cartoons. I love that style. I mean, if I had a chance to work on those, Yeah,
because that's a very UPA meets Disney kind of like aesthetic. It's very on model though within reason, but it's not. Yep. It's a very weird blend of the two, which is really nice, and it's also funny, which is nice because I don't remember the guy's name. It's the guy who actually worked on Epic Mickey. I think he's the guy behind the show. Don't quote me on that.
So the one guy, the driving force behind the new Mickey cartoons was Paul Rudish.
I swear.
And I don't know if that's the guy you mean. Paul Rudish worked on Dexter's Lab, I think, back in the day.
Yeah, I for some reason swear that he was a big fan of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. I thought and did. He
probably was.
And thought he did something with Epic Mickey, or at least wrote the story for Epic. I mean, he very much loved it. I thought that he was involved in, because I remember right after Epic Mickey 2 came out, there were talks that he was going to do a new Mickey Mouse or do something with Mickey Mouse, and then I didn't hear anything about it, and then I just heard, oh my God, did you see the new YouTube short of Mickey Mouse? And then a few months later, they had their own half-hour show on, or they were peppered throughout the Disney Channel and Disney XD. And,
yeah, they were.
And I thought that was so cool.
One of the best parts about those cartoons, too, is it isn't only one director. There's a lot of guest directors.
Oh, awesome.
And I think which is fun for me being an animation nerd, because you get to see people's styles and their sense of humor. So one of my favorite out of those directors was Aaron Springer, who used to work on SpongeBob. So he directed a couple of the best Mickey shorts, in my opinion, like Cable Car Chaos. But his humor and stuff, kind of his adult humor and timing and jokes that he had in SpongeBob, kind of brought over to here. I thought they were so much fun to watch.
That's awesome.
And they're like on their 4th season, and they always have a different director, which is cool because they're doing a classic characters, and they're having different directors animate and take the reins of the characters, and then you get these fun, different interpretations that are just so much fun to watch because you know the characters, but when they do something totally outlandish in someone else's style, it's more entertaining.
Jumping back to DuckTales, have you watched all the episodes of DuckTales so far?
I haven't seen every single one. I've seen about 4. I mean, I'm loving them more and more.
I think there's only been 4, maybe 5. I'm not sure, but my only complaint, and this is not a bad thing, my only complaint with this show is that I want more Donald and Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the thing is that, and it's not bad though. The show is still really freaking good. But that's my only complaint is that and of course, right as I said that, I think the last episode with Gladstone, is Donald.
With the Fortune one? Yeah.
Yes, that was Donald Duck centric, and they had tons of Scrooge in there too. And so I was like, you guys already know what I'm going to say next. I don't need to. You guys are great. You guys are doing good work here.
My opinion is they're probably saving a lot of Scrooge and Donald for later, probably for a bigger story arc.
Yeah,
because they're not revealing the Huey, Dewey, and Louie's mother yet.
Yes.
So they're probably saving, like, that's kind of the meat of the story, if you had to look at it that way. They're probably saving some of the Scrooge and Donald dynamic for later. But I mean, who knows? I mean, if they want us to run for seasons, we're gonna see a ton of it, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and I remember the episode before the Gladstone Gander one with the tease to Magica. I was like, this is awesome and all, but I feel like I've not seen Scrooge or Donald really well since like the pilot. I mean, Donald was in, I think, that one because the boat caught on fire and then he saved the kids from the Beagle Boys at the very end. But it's been very kid centric, and I get that. I'm completely fine with that because they're not bad. It's wonderfully told, but I'm just like, and again, like you, I'm like, I know they're probably saving this for the big reveal at the end with their mom and the spear of Luna or whatever, the spear thing. So, but it's just like, man, I kind of miss when it was like Scrooge and the kids, and I love Carl Bark. I mean, I got into Don Rose's comics first, and now I've gone back and I'm reading the Treasury for Barks, and it's just like,
oh, wow. Good for you, yeah.
Yeah, well, and if you ever get a chance, because you're in PA, right?
Yep, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, I'm in Ohio, so if you ever get a chance, go to, well, this might be, your sworn enemy if you're a college fan for Penn State, but OSU has the Billy Ireland Cartoon Museum.
Wait, where is that?
It's on the campus of OSU.
Okay.
Yeah, and they actually have Jeff Smith, who did Bone. He lives in Columbus still, and one of the things they have on site, and I think they tore it out because from other museums and stuff like that, but they have original Carl Barks art there, and
that's cool.
The dude has no pencil line work that you can see on the final page. It's aggravating.
Wow.
It's beautiful though. No, I mean, it's beautiful, but I mean, you look at Jeff Smith, you can see the blue lines and pencil marks, like even the original Popeye comic strip and Frank Miller, you see all these pencils everywhere, and then you get to Carl Barks and it's just ink.
It's just like perfect.
Yeah, and you don't see any, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is beautiful.
Yeah, that means he knew his characters well. He could just pop them out.
And
that's amazing. I love seeing that. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, and because Bill Watterson's from like northern Ohio, western PA, around that area, they have a lot of Bill Watterson art there now too.
Oh my God! That alone would be enough for me to go over there.
Oh yeah, dude! If you ever, it's phenomenal too. If you ever get a chance, stop in. It is. It's one of those things where I don't get to go enough to it. But they have the first copy of Bone and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I'm just like,
wow.
Wow. Oh yeah. They don't have artwork from it, but they have the original, one of the first printings. And I was like, oh my God, I just want to cry. It was so awesome. Well, cause I'm very eclectic. Like I like the Turtles. Being an 80s, 90s kid, but like I like the Mirage TMNT a lot. And then I go into,
absolutely.
Then I go into Rocky and Bullwinkle and then Godzilla, and then Frasier, because why not?
Because why not?
well, you got to have some high class in there. You got to have some high class.
That's right. You got to mix it up. You got to get some high
My
class
God, Jake, the sherry.
You know what's funny? I'm actually staring at, I'm looking at my book collection over here, and I have the Jeff Smith owned one volume edition.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Do you have the color one, or do you have the black and white?
This is black and white, because that's actually why I got it, was just I wanted to see how crisp his inks were.
Oh, it's
a good reference, and it's beautiful.
It's so beautiful, and he's such a. I used to have this shirt. I got to meet him once. It was randomly. We went into a Barnes and Noble, and I give Bone to people who've never read comics before, and I said, "Look, do you like Lord of the Rings? Yes. Do you like Bugs Bunny? Yes. Please read this." And their first thought, and their first thought is, "Oh my God, it's huge." I'm like, no, just please. If you get maybe 4 issues in, and you're not digging where it's gone, give it back to me. And they never give it back to me. So I had it from someone at work who gave it back to me, and he was doing a signing, and at one of the Barnes and Nobles in Columbus, and I was wearing my Bugs Bunny like animator shirt, where it's like the 3/4, all the different poses. I think it was not Chuck Jones, it was Clampett, the Clampett version of Bugs Bunny.
The Clampett version, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he was just like, dude, I love your shirt. Yeah, this is, and so we talked. I was just like, oh, I'm talking to Jeff Smith. Yeah, because I nerd out hardcore.
I do too.
Oh, it's so.
people look at me, they don't think I nerd out, but I totally love nerding out. I love vault stuff.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, who's the probably one person you've met that you've completely nerded out on? For anything. It can be movies, it can be television, it can be anything.
Well, there's a couple. I mean, so I met John Crick-Flossie in Canada and I kind of nerded out. And because I was kind of nerding out, it wasn't the best interaction, but it was, of course, fun to meet him.
Was he like Harrison Ford? I mean, that's really the gauge you gauge everything on. Was he Harrison Ford to you, or was he a little bit nicer?
Yeah. Yeah, and I was younger too, so I was like probably less confident. And I was just like, oh my god, I just ran into one of my heroes. Holy crap!
That's good because Harrison Ford destroys dreams. from like I've heard him on Nerdist, and you see him, and I don't know. He goes in that he's either 100% cool or he will just destroy you. Which is devastating.
You know what? He's allowed to do that because he's Harrison Ford.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. No, you're right, but still.
I can tell you, I love telling funny stories and embarrassing stories, so I'll tell you a whole bunch. I did meet, one time I met Carmen Electra. Remember her?
Oh, God, yeah. She was, for like a second, married to Dennis Rodman.
Yes, and I don't remember who she was married to at the time, but I was post-college, and I was working at an Urban Outfitters. I used to work for that company. And, I worked the register. So we would get celebrities in there every now and then. It was a pretty big store, and it's on Walnut Street in Philadelphia where, you can do some rich people can shop. Instead of being a dork, I tried to play it, really cool. So I was like, hey, I tried to, put on a serious face and act all cool. And I was like, this is definitely Carmen Electra. And then I got her credit card, and the credit card said, what's her real name? Like Tara Reed Patrick or something? I don't know. Something like Reed Tara Patrick. It's one of those combinations of words.
Oh, man.
And I was like, oh, this really is her. And she's there smiling at me, saying hi, expecting me to gush and be like, hey, Carmen Electra, oh my God. And I'm just there going, hey, how's it going? Did you find everything okay? So I totally bummed her out. In fact, she looked kind of mad at me because I didn't work out. I was like, oh, what a terrible interaction that was.
Oh, yeah, the whole time she's like, hi, and then she's tapping to her name on the car, or like her driver's license, which may say Carmen Electra.
Hello. Yeah, hello, I'm Carmen Electra. Look at me. I was like, hey.
Sup? How you doing?
Sup?
Well, isn't that weird that some people get mad at that? If you don't recognize them, I don't know, that's so bizarre in some cases. It is, because
I didn't expect that.
No, yeah. Now, my saddest one is we were at MegaCon in Orlando, and I was talking to my one artist friend, and he was working out. This is back before Casey Green was the guy who drew the dog that said this is fine. Casey Green was in our little group, and him and my one friend were drawing, and he was taking a break from doing the little shtick. And I hate to say it like this, but just to put it in context, this elderly woman came up and goes, excuse me, do you know where the green room is for celebrities? And I looked at her, and I looked at my friend, and we looked at her, and we're like, I'm really sorry, but we don't. And then we're like, who the hell is she? And it's Margot Kidder. It's Margot Kidder. Oh yeah, and we completely were like, as she walked away, we're like, oh my God, it's Margot. And I think she heard us.
And you could have been her helpful hero.
I know, and well, here's the sad part is she heard us both go, oh my God, it's Margot Kidder, as she walked away, and she shot us a weird look like, well, yeah, forget you. It's like, oh no, yeah, it was.
You know what? I have a Comic-Con story. I went to the Philadelphia Comic-Con, and this is years ago. I think to put it in perspective, I had just gotten an iPhone, so that's probably how long ago this was.
Hell yeah.
And I was with my buddy Jay Spence, and we're walking around, and it was kind of a low-key day. There was, there wasn't a lot of crowd, and some of the celebrities had their booths set up, and no one was really there. So we round a corner, and there's Lou Ferrigno.
Oh, Lou, yeah.
Yeah, so he's got a standout who's selling photos and print. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just we were kind of being wide-eyed, and I think maybe we just sort of stepped in the place. We'd only been there 20 minutes. So I go, oh, yeah, look, it's Lou Ferrigno. And I whip out my iPhone, and I just set up a photo and took it right in front of him.
Oh.
Then I just took a photo of him. I didn't even think he was looking at me. Then I pull the phone down, I look up, and he's literally making that face before he hawks out. And I was like, oh shit, I just pissed off Lou Ferrigno. And I look around his hand, all he's doing is selling photos and photo op. And I just walked up and took a freak picture. I was like, oh my God, I am such a terrible person. I looked at my friend Jay, and we just got got the heck out of there.
Oh yeah,
we lined it for wherever we could be out of the Hulk, eye line.
Oh my goodness!
I couldn't believe it.
I have a weird lose story, which is, and I don't think I've told it on the podcast before. It's just one of those weird ones where I don't really know what happened. I just we got there super because there was 12 of us that got 2 tables or something like that, and we would swing. Some of us would get there early, and I think it was Sunday, so it was the last day of the con, and we were there, and I was the one who came in early with one other person, and we got the table set up, and I just remember Lou Ferrigno was walking by, and then he dropped something, and just my first instinct is, oh, let me help you with that, and I helped him and he just looked so defeated, like I just shit in his cereal, and he was just like, let me guess, you want a picture? And I was like, no, man, no, no, like I'm just,
I wanted to pick that item up for you.
Yeah, I was just trying to do the right thing, and I think he took it as you're just trying to help me to get something out of it, which I felt I'm like, oh, dude, that sucks.
Oh my god,
yeah.
To paint a portrait of a man. Oh my god, you made it sound so bad.
Yeah, no, right, and then it's just like he's like, okay, and then he walked away, and that bummed me. That was a bummer of a start of the day, and then the second bummer is I occasionally do voices and stuff like that, and I walked up to the guy who does Space Coast to Coast.
Oh yeah,
I can't remember his name. I'm feeling really shitty that I don't. But I walked up to him and I drew a picture and I was like, "Can you sign it?" And he wrote weird shit smells good, bacon panties and stuff like that. Yeah, really weird, funny shit. Yeah, it's hysterical. But then I was like, "Hello, I am Zorak, green with evil," and he just looked at me and then he's like, and then he completely got serious and he's like, "I've heard better." And then he gave it back to me and signed it. And then so as I was walking out, though, this is where the happy part of it is. I'm just like, Jesus, I met Lou Ferrigno and I got shit on by the guy who does Space Ghost. Yeah, and then as he walked by, he's like, by the way, your Zorak was really good. And that as he was when we were walking out, and I was just like,
no way.
Yeah, no, he really did. And I was like, oh, you made me so happy.
Now that's a moment.
No, that is.
When you get a compliment from somebody, you're like, you respect. It's just, even if it's little, it's just
it really was.
So motivating.
And I think at that point we were tearing down, so I wasn't like, oh, I'm bummed. It was just more like, oh, that was an awesome con, you guys. Yeah, good job. Fax Max kudos all around, like the 80s guy from Futurama. And then he just happened. He's like, oh, by the way. And I was like, oh, thank you. Wow, that was awesome. So, but I mean, because
that's a cool moment.
It is a cool moment because if we didn't have that moment, it would be really depressing. It would have been a bummer. It would have been a bummer. But
it would have broken that day. You would have really had a crap day then.
It really would have. And it's so bizarre because that was good times. I miss going to cons all the time. I only go to a con here and there now, and it's always as me too. As a patron I don't get to go as the guy who's with another group of way talented people, and I get to watch as they do their stuff. So, AKA, I'm a freeloader. I like to freeload, is what I'm saying. No, but I mean, it was a lot of fun. We had Casey Green before he was already becoming Casey Green, but he's not like where he is now, where he's almost like mythical legend of This Is Fine mixed with all the other stuff that he does, and it's bizarre. It's bizarre crazy. I look at his Twitter feed now, and I look at who he was then, and I'm like, it's like he's like Bobcat Goldthwait. Who's the guy? Yeah, Gilbert Godfrey, where they're playing a character of themselves, I feel like. Yeah. And I was like, man, that's got to be hard to do that 24/7 to be on. It feels like he's on. Can you
imagine that life? Like it's the same with like you said with Lou Ferrigno, and like these people get approached all the time, incessantly. I mean, I just and that alone is probably so draining and exhausting. You almost feel bad for sort of the double-edged sword of fame. Like it's wonderful to be loved by so many people, but at the same time they're probably driven nuts by requests and odd interactions. Imagine having 1,000 awkward interactions a day.
Yeah, that's true.
So draining.
Or if you're draining. Tom Hanks, where he's not only is it now awkward, but because of Chris Hardwick's Nerdist, everyone knows he loves typewriters. So now everyone's like, "Hey, do you want a typewriter?" And he's just like, "No, he's being polite because he's Tom Hanks because he's awesome." But he's just like, "No, I'm good. And you're like, "No, man, poor Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks does not need another typewriter.
No, he does not. Actually, that should be his thing when he walks into everywhere, which is like, "Hello, yes, I am Tom Hanks. Yes, I am Woody. No, I do not need your typewriter." Oh, and followed up with yes, Steven Spielberg is very awesome. And and no, I do not speak Daryl Hannah anymore. Oh, I'm sorry, Splash fans. But I talked to Ronnie Howard, and everyone's like, okay, I don't see Daryl Hannah anymore. Yay. Yeah, just...
And then he's like, and the Da Vinci Code is real. No, I'm kidding.
He's like, that's why I keep making those movies, because the truth is out there. Matter of fact, I think
he only does it for the haircut he has in those movies. I think he only does it for that haircut.
That is true. Like, in every Dan Brown movie, he has a bit of a different haircut. Like, I feel like
he's got like this long mane or something that does not look like Tom Hanks.
I feel like only one of them he had the shorter of like the almost looks like Tom Hanks haircut. He
might have. I didn't see all of them. I only saw the first two.
I didn't see the last one. I saw Angels and Demons and I saw Da Vinci Code. I didn't see the last one. Was it Inferno? I think Inferno was one where he had like I'm Tom Hanks in this Dan Brown movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see that one. That must be it.
Yeah. Well, what was the one where it's based after a comic book? Paul Newman, Sam Mendes directed it. It's a darker movie. It's where he's a gangster. Road to Perdition.
Road to Perdition. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
And he has the short Tom Hanks hairstyle, but he has a weird mustache that no one's seen on Tom Hanks before, or we've not seen for a while. And so it's like, I see what you did there, Tom Hanks. You're changing it up.
Yeah.
No, but he's actually...
and Tom Hanks, not that he's not good looking, he's just a very basic looking person. I mean, think about, that's why he's perfect for Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
He just sort of, basic, sort of all-American, I guess, sort of look. But
It's true.
It's kind of funny now you're saying that. We put a mustache on him for this movie. We made his hair longer. He always does sort of look very just Tom Hanks, but they kind of just alter they alter something, which I guess helps change the character. But
someone said that there are tells of every actor, and like when I think of Tom Hanks, I really can't think of a tell. And someone said, well, the only thing we can think of is that he pees in every movie. And I'm like, maybe, but could it be you can tell if he takes a different movie, if he has a different hairstyle or something's, because that to me is the real, like the movie, he's like, I'm going to challenge myself here. Let's do a longer hairstyle or the mustache.
I'm thinking a mustache.
I'm thinking a mustache for this one. Well, and that's very broad and that's a good thing too, because I don't really know of any visual tics that he has, but like Harrison Ford, I know when he gets pissed off, he gives you like a fuck you look, but he points. It's just with pointing. He's like, he always points at somebody, and he does it in almost every movie where he doesn't say anything, he just points, or he says like, but it's technically saying F you, bro.
Right. He kind of wiggles his hand in a point.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. He definitely does that.
He does it in Indiana Jones, he did it in Star Wars. He's like,
I think he did it in Force Awakens.
Yeah, he does it in Force Awakens. He did it.
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah,
I remember he did it in almost all of the Jack Ryan movies. And was it where it's that weird playing for the camera? If you would see him do it in real life, it looks really weird. Where he's technically, it's a close up of him, and he's like pointing to the guy who played Kittredge in Mission Impossible. I think it's Clear and Present Danger. He's like looking at him, pointing at him, and is like, "No, you don't do it." But he's taking him like, "Fuck you." He's just with the finger, and you're just like, "Damn, bro, you're just."
What if when Han Solo died? Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
What if when Han Solo died, he is falling down that pit with his finger waving like that?
Yeah, just waving, but he's not waving at Kylo necessarily because it's his son.
He just into the air as he's falling.
Yeah, or he's just doing like it to Luke, like, "Where the fuck are you in all this?" Like as he falls. And then Mark Hamill's like, "Sorry, Harrison, you just had me show up at the end, but I look really good, don't I?" As I take the lightsaber. Which made me, oh man, that makes me, and then poor Carrie, that's a sadness. But Tom, going back to happier things, Tom Cruise karate chops the air when he runs. In almost every movie.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I think in Rain, I swear to God, I feel like Rain Man is almost the last movie he completely is, he's not weird Tom Cruise. And then after that, he did The Firm, and then he just like, I'm going to karate chop the air to run faster. And then he just does it in almost every movie. Like, maybe except Magnolia, he doesn't. I feel like. And
you're probably right, because he's always running all his...
Yeah, and I'm just like, bro, I'm glad that you can run way faster than a freaking sandstorm, but bravo to you. And then there's like Owen Wilson. Wow. Yeah. Someone took a supercut of like was it John Wick? And every gunshot is him saying wow. And
I saw one where it was lightsaber battles, and every time a lightsaber hit, it was Owen Wilson going,
wow. Yeah. But it's always interesting little actor tells like that. But Tommy H, as I like to call him, because we're bros, he doesn't really have any. He just has I'm going to do a weird mustache thing. And
you know what? I would say he does have something, and it's hard to explain. But he does this thing, and I'm trying to think of like every movie, but in like, remember he was the animated Polar Express conductor and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Always kind of like gives a line where he's like your dad, you know, and he's just like, yeah, well, you know, that's kind of how the way it is. You know, he kind of does that. It's a really bad example, but he always kind of gives you a line and he kind of lifts his eyebrow where it's like, he knows a little better than you do.
Oh, yeah. It's like the raised eyebrow dad look.
I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of like a dad console type of thing. I really have no better explanation for it, but I feel like any character he does, he kind of does that. Gives you this life moment type of comment.
Once as you were saying that, I thought the only thing that popped in my head as you said that was, and I don't really know if this is true or not, but I feel like I've seen it in more than one movie, but the movie I can remember it the most in is League of Their Own. He does this weird thing, where he does this weird thing where he pees, no, but like, he does this weird face thing where he's just kind of like, shakes his head. He's not making a sound out of it, but like, it's just like he's thinking like, oh, no, okay, yeah. And I feel like he's done that a few times
it's a certain
too.
Look, and I can always see it. I can picture it, but I can't explain it in words.
Yeah, it's really, So Tom Hanks, we found you out, buddy. You're a little bit more sly about it, but we figured you out.
And much love from me for Tom Hanks. If I never met him, that would be awesome.
Oh my God! I would be the asshole who would go, Tom Hanks, do you want a typewriter? Because I would just be like, oh, you like typewriters, and that's the only. It's like I wouldn't remember anything else. That would be the worst thing ever. And of course he'd be super, because he's Tom Hanks. He'd be super kind about it. It's aggravating in my brain.
I hate ruining interactions with people I'm a fan of. I just wish if I could just have a beer with them, that would be like the perfect. If I could somehow convince those people to sit down, chill out, have a beer, I mean, that would be the best. Like, because can you imagine just having a beer with one of your heroes?
Oh,
that is way cooler than being like, oh, hey, pay attention to me for a second. I love you. You're the best. You know,
I love you. Goodbye.
I love you. Goodbye. It's just like, if they could just somehow get in a situation where you could chill and just, you know, you guys, it doesn't have to be like good conversation. Just have a beer, talk back and forth, be who you are. That would be fun.
Yeah. Well, I find it, and it's becoming a trend with some of the more distinguished media people, because I'm including musicians in that, because I know Paul McCartney is really big, and it's like, would you mind if I take a picture? He will say no. He's like, how about we just have a conversation instead? And which is pretty cool. And I know Ian McKellen is starting to get that way. You know, Patrick Stewart is just more like, you want a picture? I'll take a picture with you. Let's go. You know, because he's awesome.
He'd be fun to meet.
Oh man, short list of people to meet. Patrick Stewart is kind of up there because he would have fun with you no matter what. Like, and he would be the guy who's like, would you like to go? Maybe we play a board game. And you're like, yeah, a board game with Patrick Stewart.
You know, and one of the reasons for me is he sounds like the way he says his words is fun and entertaining. It would just be fun to talk to him in person and hear that.
Oh, I would actually probably ask him, would you please, whatever board game we're playing, even though we know the rules, could you just read them for me? I'm just gonna quietly die inside.
Did you just read this airplane manual for me? Like, I just want to hear you read something.
Oh yeah. Did you see Extras where he did that? Because he's really funny too, and I think it's weird because I think Star Trek put him in this weird. He is a classically trained Shakespeare actor, and now he's doing a very serious Star Trek captain. And so I think it's so funny when he started doing comedy bits like on Extras and American Dad, and it's just so funny. The whole bit with him going like, I like women with big bazoongas, and it's just so weird because it's like, why are you saying those words? They are awesome, but why?
That's why it worked, because he's been so established the other way that it's just funny to hear him do any sort of comedy.
He's playing against type, which of course is comedy by some type of definition. Yeah. So
I was just thinking too, like we're talking about Comic-Con and meeting people. I remember I didn't actually meet him because I kind of didn't want to, but I was at I think it was probably the Philly Comic-Con one year, and Christopher Lloyd was there.
Oh,
and I just was staring at him because I was like, oh my God, there's Doc Emmett Brown in person. Like that was too surreal. I was like, oh yeah, I never thought I'd actually see this guy in person. So I didn't get in line or talk to him or anything, but I think I snuck a picture. But it was just like, I'm like, holy shit, that's Christopher Lloyd. Like, oh my God, you know?
My God. Now, I feel like Michael J. Fox is one of those, and again, this is just he's a very nice guy, I'm sure, but I feel like he's a little bit more in Harrison Ford range, which he's like, I really don't want to talk about Back to the Future. And I know that's always everyone's first instinct is to want to do that. Even if they're being chill and having a beer with him, that would probably be their first instinct. And he, you know, I don't know. Because that would be my fear, is that my brain would just go into autopilot. And even if we're just chillaxing and having a beer, I'd be like Chris Farley and, you know, in that Paul McCartney interview. It's like, you were in Back to the Future? Was that rad or what? Yeah, did you know that you replaced Eric Stoltz. That's awesome. And so it's
I love those Chris Farley bits. I almost forgot about those. That's the best. Like rubbing his knees and panting.
Oh, yeah. And exactly. So it would literally be me me like sweating to death and drinking the beer and looking at him, and then he'd probably say something. He's like, do you know I have a foundation? He's like, yeah, because you have Parkinson's. And then he'd be just like, okay, dude, that's I would become Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm. It would be very horrible.
You go, yeah.
It would be very bad. Except for I would care that I would say that. Larry doesn't. I would care that I was offending poor Michael J. Fox.
I was just thinking too. One of those SNL skits they did with Chris Farley like that. I think Paul McCartney was one guy.
Yeah, that's the most famous one.
So you were like in the Beatles, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and that's all he says. He's like,
he was just like, so yeah, like the Beatles. I forget what he said. It was a long ago, but yeah, that's just a great skit.
Yeah, the only reason I have that fresh on my brain is one of my roommates had I Am Chris Farley, and I just randomly watched it. Well,
I saw that. It was very good. That was a very good. It was
good. I feel like, and I think it's maybe for the family's sake, they kind of didn't focus on the bad stuff at the end as much.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it probably was family and for respect,
Yeah. Well, if you ever get a chance too, your thoughts on it would be kind of cool, especially as an animator. But Jeff Smith, I think it's called Welcome to Boneville, but he has a documentary about him, and he funded it though. And so I feel like it's it's really cool, but I feel like it's slanted towards him. And there's one part where do you remember do you guys have White Castle in Pennsylvania?
Jersey has one, but I know what it is.
Okay. Well, they used to have White Castle commercials where they were claymation. Those were done by Jeff Smith and his old team the company he was a part of. He was a partner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, right. And I remember those all the time, and then I just remember they kind of stopped. And the reason why is that, and it's very vague in the documentary, and even if you read up on him, it's kind of vague what happened, but he left to do his own thing, which is, you commend him for, but some of the older interviews, there's some bitterness there, and they don't ever really touch it.
Yeah, usually, when something's vague, that means some bad stuff happened, and no one's really going to tell you what happened.
Well, right. And I just feel like, but then they have interviews with the person now. It's like, oh, Jeff is fantastic. We love him. And I'm just like, well, okay, there's what? But again, that's their right as a documenter and as a storyteller to craft the story the way. Right. But sometimes I just was like, oh, I mean, I don't want to get depressing with it, but I mean, interesting. Because you always do wonder, like, because, creative forces at work, they're always changing. And how does that, I mean, obviously it wasn't fulfilling for Jeff, but was there some other stuff too that maybe he wanted to take on different work, and then if not, he left, or, just stuff like that. It's always fascinating to me.
Maybe he moved on and just was time to say goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, and that could be it. And that was the bitterness. Well, then that's, I mean, that it is what it is. But I don't know. I always feel like there's always, as a big fan of the Ninja Turtles, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird had a huge fallout. And
yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, and they're slowly like chummy now. They'll hang out together at AKA if you come to Peter.
Well, it was about money. Wasn't it about money, right?
It's very vague.
Or how to handle the property.
It's how to handle the property mixed with. Yeah. I know, like, for example, Kevin and Peter swore they would never do a female turtle, and then Kevin did Next Mutation with a female turtle, and that upset Peter. And that's what I'm saying. There's other things too, like that they started gnawing at each other. Like, they have very different ways of telling the story, which is ironic because, I feel like some of the best stuff is when it was Peter and Kevin working together.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. Because you can tell which one's is Peter and which one is Kevin. Because Peter's is very wordy, almost too wordy, like a Star Trek episode. Kevin is too much action, and the stories, the plot's good, and the layout's fantastic, but maybe the words not so much. And this is my opinion, of course.
And they were good, so they were better as a team.
Yeah. Matter of fact, one of my favorite layouts ever, if you get a chance to reread it, is Leonardo #1. The layout of that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's almost like a movie, and it's very subliminal, and at the bottom of every page, you cut back to what's going on with the Turtles and April's apartment, while the top half is Leonardo, where he's, for those who've not read it, it's kind of following the Raphael plotline of the first movie, where he's being chased by the Foot Clan, and then the twist is, in the comic book, they've killed Shredder in the first issue, and then Shredder shows back up, and then it's the same thing like in the movie. Leonardo gets thrown through the window, and the book ends with, he's back, the Shredder, he's returned, and that kind of thing. But it's very, like, you're not paying attention to it, and I remember they talked about that in some art class I took in college, and it's like, it's very subliminal. Eastman and Laird did this, and I was like, holy shit. Yeah, it's bottom.
Yeah, that's pretty,
Yeah, to get back to Rocky and Bullwinkle, because I'm smooth like that. Do you do anything like that at all? Like when you plot out the book with the script, where you have certain things, I mean, especially if it's jumping back from Boris and Tasha at certain times, I mean, from what I've seen, there's not too much opportunity for that necessarily, but is that something you think about when you go through that, or
like a flashback, or what do you mean?
Well, no, just like so like the characters are in one spot, just the pacing of how the panels lay out over time.
Oh, yeah. I call that like looking at the whole composition of the page. I do that a lot. If there's any art nerds out there, if you look at some of my pages, you'll see a nice balance of Boris within the layout of the page, because I draw him as sort of as a solid black silhouette. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of negative spin, that's a lot of dark space to kind of balance out with some of the other artwork. I do my best to do a nice kind of, you'll see a lot of flow with my stuff, and definitely look at Boris's placement within a page, because he's, it's like a solid black color.
Yeah, and that was always hard about the original. The original animation was like that too. He was just big black, well, not blob, but he's very, there was barely any white.
He really is though. Like his arms are sometimes to the side view, and his arm is within his black, like the black square of his body, and I have to throw in a couple lines to indicate where it is or what the motion he's in, which is kind of tricky. You have to find a nice balance. You don't want it too highlighted. It has to sort of be like a highlight. But that's also fun, because I wouldn't want to draw him any other way.
Oh yeah,
because he looks so cool like that. So to me, it's like, he's got his, he's a spy. He basically, what Boris is wearing, right? Boris is basically wearing the spy versus spy outfit.
Oh yeah, it's a black trench coat.
It's a black trench coat and like a brimmed hat with 2 points in the top. And I was like, so when I started drawing, I was like, oh my god, this is like the spy versus spy outfit. I never thought of it. He's a classic spy character, so that really fits him.
I'm curious, because I don't actually have the art of Jay Ward. I'm always curious about who, like, did Alex Anderson design Boris and Natasha? I'm always curious about that. It's one of the things that,
you know what, I have to actually look that up. I didn't do my research.
No, I didn't either. And I don't think it's not really mentioned in Keith Scott's book either, The Moose That Roared. It's because it's kind of vague. Like, the only thing we know for sure is Alex Anderson did the original designs for, was it the Frostbite Falls Review or something like that? And because picture that's everywhere. It's like the fox, the wolf, the squirrel, the moose, and all that. But Boris and Natasha came on afterwards when Bill Scott and all of them kind of reshaped it to become Rocky and Bullwinkle. Well, Rocky and Friends. So, So that's always interesting, and I love it too, because. Can you imagine? I would love to see the very first drawing of that, just to see what it looked like. Oh my god, yeah! Because if you remember,
if it exists somewhere,
that first episode is very with Boris, and the first few are very rough. They don't even look anything like how Boris is done now, or even.
And Natasha was very strange. I think she was wearing like a green dress. I forget, but she looked very odd. Yeah. They're all very misshapen. There's no actual form to them yet.
Right, which is
formula.
They're almost like black. It's like, they never showed their legs too much. They were always like vamped up. I know this isn't poor wording, but they vamped up into the screen. So even though Boris is shorter than Natasha, he always seemed the same height, because it's like his whole body was stretching up to meet hers, and then only the mouth was moving. Back then it was using Hoppity Hooper, Crusader Rabbit like animation, which was very basic, like move only what you got to, which is cool and is part of the charm, of course. And also that poor studio in Mexico had no idea what they were doing.
Yep. The other thing too, like I told you, I talked earlier about the charm of the show with all the different models of the characters and the color. So part of the thing too is, remember, they were on TV as TVs were developing.
Oh yeah.
From what are black and white. Some people didn't have color set yet and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So everyone's actual sort of first taking in of Rocky and Bullwinkle was, they were all off color, they were all off model, and it's just through the means of the way the media they were being presented in. And it made me think, because so I did my comic and I used the Pantones I'm supposed to use, and then for my backgrounds and stuff, I actually referenced a lot of the old TV backgrounds that I could find online or that I had on video. I actually sometimes I even stole some colors just to get it right. Because with Photoshop you can ink drop any any JPEG you have. So that's a fun thing to do, to get the right palette, to get that sense of the classic look. Well, so then I was trying to promo my stuff on Instagram, and I took some like close-up shots of the comic work, and then I ran it through some of the filters. And I ran it through a filter until, to me, it looked like what it would have looked like on TV in standard definition. So it altered the colors enough to look, and I was like, wow, this is another way to develop a palette. I was like, I could take the artwork, adjust it with a filter, and then have a whole new like set of color palettes I could dab from. I was like, it just was funny to me to actually change using a filter to actually make it look like the kind of crappy, in a good way, crappy way we would see it on TV back in the day.
Oh man, no, yeah. I mean, that that's so cool, because that's always interesting, right? Because they look a certain way, and they look sometimes not better, but like it's very interesting how they look in sepia tones and in different like filters.
Yeah,
it makes them look classic.
So one of the filters was a picture of Boris and Tasha, and I filtered it, right? And it made the backgrounds look just like they did on the TV. Like, for some reason, it made it like retro fitted the color in the correct way. But what it did was it turned Natasha's dress from purple to almost maroon or burgundy. And I was like, oh my God, I've actually seen them use that maroon and burgundy in some of her design over the years. Or somewhere I saw her actually in a maroon dress or a green dress. And I was like, it's funny because it was probably just the crappy TVs we all watched.
Oh, well, and I will say this, which is really nice about the DVD releases. They're high def HD. Well, considering they're just normal DVD, which because we all have mostly has flat screens now. It takes up the whole screen. And I don't know if maybe they did fit a screen on it, but I mean, it looks beautiful. It doesn't look like it was originally in 3:4 or whatever format, and they stretched it out. It looks like it was always meant that way, which is
they did do. Okay, that's good to know.
Well, you grew up watching Nickelodeon. Do you remember Moose-a-Rama?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they would do that, I think, up until 7 to 8 or 8 to 9, whenever it went into Nick at Night.
I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah. That's how I watched Rocky and Bullwinkle. And we have VCRs, but, I didn't have one in my room.
No, that's how I saw it, too.
Yeah, and then Cartoon Network had the Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, but I remember they had the original logos and all that. I mean, it wasn't Rocky and his friends. They had,
it was the older.
Yeah, and I for example, I know in some of the artwork that you've talked about, like, I think it's page 3 or page 2, it looks like you have a mountain from one of the openings where Rocky starts off at the top of the mountain, but it's in Pennsylvania. So it's very much reminiscent of that. I just remember they had that weird...
Oh, yeah, I made that look just like it.
Oh, yeah, it's so cool.
That was one of my favorite things, is it had the little dotted line for where the country was. Like, that was
people give a lot of crap to the movie, and I feel like it is such a Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, though. Like, especially that opening where it's like the Iron Curtain fell, and you just see the big wall, and it just falls on top of everybody. and then you just hear the audience, their hands stick up, yay. But it's just, I feel it's such a Bill Scott
I hear a lot of the same feedback, that people have seen the movie and they're not, it wasn't their favorite. But then they always follow it up with, but they did get this right. They did do this. So they did, there was something about it that really screamed Rocky Mountain, so they did okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, they fail to realize, and also, this is the weird thing, too. The old show, which was considered amazing writing at the time, and I still think it's still good, but I mean, it's terms of how media's processed back then, puns were considered top-level witty entertainment, and now they're considered dad jokes, or groaners. So, and when that's what Rocky and Bullwinkle, for the most part, is. I mean, and again, the jokes always go to Boris and Tasha, while the bad puns go to Rocky and Bullwinkle. You have this weird, and I think people forget that for some reason, and I don't know why, because George the Jungle was both, and it does the same exact thing, and everyone still thinks that movie's the beat. I mean, I'd like it too, but but they did the same. Never mind.
Well, I give credit to the writer again, Todd Livingston, for the scripts for these comics. When I first read them, I was so impressed, and I loved that he even got the pun titles correct. Like, when they end part 1, we go to part 2, they have 2 titles.
Oh yeah. Stay tuned next time for Campaign Reliever, or
or Dictator Tops. He had some really funny ones, and they were great. And same with the second episode, sort of like a Halloween, haunted house type of vibe. And I think it was like, stay tuned next for Seller's Remorse, but they're perfect.
Oh man,
he got them right. Or Building Inspectors, it was the other one. So I was like, he had the writing and the jokes are on point, and then he got the pun titles correct. I was like, this is perfect.
Oh, and here's the thing, puns are hard, man. They're really hard.
Yeah, you gotta be clever with puns.
You got, and that's the one thing I think that Bill Scott did so well, and he could do it off the top of his head. If I ever write anything and there's a pun in it, I have to just kind of put pun here and just move on. And then if I come back to it, I have to kind of stare at the screen and think about it for a bit. And then it's literally, and it's bad. It's like trying to blow your nose and nothing's coming out, and then you struck gold. And I know that's a horrible way to say it, but it's the only thing I can think of that sounds rather more decent than anything else, where it's just like you're trying really hard to get it out, and then boom, there it is. And you're like, oh, yay! My nose isn't stuffed anymore. In this case, it's a beautiful pun. Oh, that was a bad example. But metaphors, people, metaphors. There you go. Yeah. So... Well, tonight on the podcast, we talked about boogers and moose.
And we covered it thoroughly.
Oh, that could have another meaning in itself. Boom. Yeah, but your very first panel, I love that Pottsylvania. That cracks me up because that's exactly like the original show. So yeah, you guys need to buy Rocky and Bullwinkle at your comic book store, or you can go to AmericanMythology.com to get it. I think too. I think you can order it from there.
And I know Comixology has a good digital version of it too.
Oh, does? Okay.
So yeah, go to the AmericanMythology.net and go to the shop button. They have all the Rocky Bullwinkle and all the Pink Panther stuff there to buy. Yeah, the digital version looks good too if you don't want the physical copy, but get the physical copy because it's so much great to have it in print.
That's awesome. What was your Instagram?
My Instagram is at JA Greenawalt, and GREENAWALT. And I post, what's fun about that is you'll see snippets of sketches and stuff before an issue comes out.
Ooh.
That doesn't reveal too much, but sometimes there's some fun, behind the scenes stuff that's ahead of time, which is kind of cool.
Actually, I have one more question for you about Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Sure.
Before we wrap this up. And what's the note process like from DreamWorks and Ward Productions? What's that like?
Well, there's a lot. It's kind of like working for two people, so two people are in control of the process, so they each have their changes.
What's interesting about that is that you're dealing with two sets of people. Well, I don't think Fritz Freeling or any of those guys really run Pink Panther necessarily anymore. It's, what I mean, whoever owns that brand.
Well, Pink Panther is MGM Studios.
Is MGM, but did you have to deal with the Freeling camp or anything like what's left of Fritz Freeling Studios, or is it just
no? When I do Pink Panther, it's just MGM.
So
they have somebody who controls the brand.
That's interesting to me that the Wards still have some kind of say in that, which is nice. It means that they're still watching over their dad's stuff.
I like that too. I was surprised to hear it, but I was like, oh, that's really. I mean, that was great. To me, it was like, I'm ecstatic that the people at J Ward are seeing my work.
Oh yeah,
and I'm happy to work on this property.
Oh, definitely. So whatever jakemakes.blogspot.com. You can also check out his Instagram. And what was that one more time for Instagram? It was
the Instagram is at JA Greenawalt.
Greenawalt. And then your Twitter, I think, if you want to follow him on there, is Jacob_G_artist, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And there's also a Whatever Jake Makes animation Facebook page.
Oh, okay, cool.
But sometimes there's videos on there and stuff too.
Cool. I'm mildly prepared. Not fully prepared. I'm mildly prepared.
Well, hey, as long you can check it out later, and hopefully some other people will check it out. Love to hear feedback.
Definitely, man. Well, thank you so much for taking time to do this. This was a lot of fun and really insightful. And the new issue will be coming out within the next month or so. And you can get past issues. You can get them online at American Mythology. Their Twitter handle, because I'm looking at it right now, is American Mytho. So there are definitely links in there. Or you can buy it digitally from Comixology, which I might do some double dipping so I can read. Because I completely... Well, I used to have an iPad Mini, and I like to read them on there like that. But my iPad Mini got lost years ago. And so I lost my Marvel Unlimited subscription. I know. Wah.
Oh, no.
First world problems, man. But, yeah.
And it's and their website is AmericanMythology.net.
.net. Oh, no, yeah, good.
.net is important. So I always make sure to mention it.
Oh, yeah. No, so that's good. Thank you for mentioning it, because I would probably like AmericanMythology.com, blah, blah, blah. And then
I don't know where that'll take you.
Yeah, where will that take you? And just a weird note, I remember someone on the Facebook group mentioned American Mythology, and it's like, it's not mythology, it's a real thing that happened. This isn't fake news. I was just like, what? No. And then the one guy, John, was like, no, that's the name of the comic group that's releasing the books. I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, people start storming off on comments before they read everything.
Oh, yeah.
So,
very sad. Fake news. So,
exactly.
All right. News. Well, thank you so much, Jacob, for talking to us. It was a lot of fun. And again, check out Rocky and Bullwinkle and the Pink Panther, American Mythology, and check out all his links. And for more links directly, if you're lazy like me, I'll put all his links. I'll put all the links in the notes. That way you can be lazy like me, and I'm going to help you out. Help me to help you. So excellent, Smithers, excellent. So check that out. And thanks again, Jacob. I appreciate it.
Anytime, man. I'll do it anytime.
All right.
Get out of here without cheese! You're a creep! Go away! We're having a good time until you showed up, cheapers! Go have some coffee with cream or something! Because I'll tell you something! This is a happy...